Hey guys, welcome back to another Cultured Boys episode. I'm Pepe and I'm joined by Nathan, and today we are doing another random anime review. Hey,
Eee.
that's right. For long-time listeners of the show, we go on Crunchyroll, we go into a certain section, wherever section that might be, probably simulcast or whatever, and I I count all the ones that we haven't really watched before, and Nathan chooses a number.
Yay. RNG is my friend.
Yes, it's how we've ended up with so many isekais. But not an isekai today, thank God.
Yes.
Today we are watching Okitsura.
Okitsura, I fell in love with an Okinawan girl, but I just wish I know what she's saying.
I didn't even bother remembering the second part of that because Okitsura. I'd leave it at that.
I'm
And
not gonna
that's
lie, if I didn't have the notes in front of me, I wouldn't have remembered.
yeah. It's one of the trends. It's a really long title, but not an isekai. Again, I feel like those two go hand in hand. But this
It
is
does. It does.
no. Before we get any further into Okitsuna, do you want to give a little breakdown of what we have been watching, Nathan?
Yes. Okay. So Okitsura, created by Igumi Sora, published in Kurage Bunch, January 10th, 2020 to present, 9 volumes. Yes, I've also never heard of that uh, magazine. Also, this doesn't follow the trend. This was a manga first.
Oh right, okay. There you
It's
go.
not even a light novel series. It was a manga.
Okay. Oh, it's nice to see
So
that
it's got a
happening.
long ass title, but it wasn't a light novel, and it's not an isekai. So
Made in 2020 as well, so that's yeah.
yeah.
I feel like that was like at the start of where they started doing all the long title stuff. But yeah,
Pretty much. Animated by Millipensi. Never heard of that
never heard
studio.
that.
Aired January 5th, 2025 to present. At time of recording, there are 3 episodes. When Teruyaki Nakamura transfers to laid-back Okinawa, he falls for the lively Kian-san, but her dialect is a complete mystery to him. With Higa-san translating, Teru's misunderstanding-filled island life takes off, and subtle hints suggest Higa-san might want his heart too. On this island, love flows as freely as the ocean breeze. Thank you, Crunchyroll. Can you tell I took that from somewhere that
Yeah,
got to sell this?
yeah.
I thought
They
about cutting
really
out that
do.
last sentence, but like I was like, do I still say it's from Crunchyroll then when I edited
Nah.
it, quote unquote?
It's one of those ones where, like, like where it's such a stark contrast to something like Netflix or like
Yeah.
or Wikipedia or something. And they're really trying to like sell it.
Oh, if it was
But
Wikipedia, that would have been like the whole first episode would have been the breakdown. Like,
yeah,
and if it
yeah,
was like Netflix, it would have just been like Teruaki moves to Okinawa and meets a girl. Wacky
yeah, like
life.
barely that, yeah,
Like, that
yeah.
would have been it.
Shit. I was just like looking into the studio because again, like you said, I've never heard of that studio either.
Yeah.
Pensi, I guess. Apparently they were behind the Berserk anime in
Oh, okay.
2016. So the one that was like kind of like 3D-ish and everyone kind of
Yeah, yeah.
started freaking out and said it was crap. I don't know if it was good or not. I've never watched Berserk
Never
before,
watched it.
but I'm trying to like see if there's any others I recognize. There's a one called Wake Up Girls, New Chapter, which apparently is quite big. It's got a fair few seasons, or
Never heard of
it's
that.
it's got OVAs and stuff. So and there's a random isekai one in 2023, and so I'm a spider. So what? I think that's like an isekai one where it's someone gets transformed into a spider,
Okay,
and there's like
well,
a thing. Yeah, there we go.
neither of us like spooders, so no chance.
Nah, yeah, it's like a weird anime spider, but that's beside the point. Anyway, I haven't recognized any of those, like apart from a couple of those things. Not like a studio I'm too familiar with.
Mm,
Um, but this is Romcom basically. So
yes.
immediately, am I gonna be interested in it? Yeah, I fucking love a romcom. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, that goes without saying.
but there's so many more layers to this that I'm actually quite enjoying about the
Yeah,
anime right now.
I I thought it was because, do the research, rom-com, I'm like, okay.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
surprisingly, the romance is there,
Yeah.
but it's really I would say it's more of a sitcom than a rom-com personally.
It feels more, right? Like, obviously, yeah, you got the romance elements, but it doesn't feel like it's too heavy, and that is like it's more of
Mm,
a situational thing, like you said. It's about Teru going to Okinawa and
yeah.
just adapting to life there, which is just quite like it's funny to see, but it's also quite informative at the same time.
Yeah, I was not expecting that either. It's really cool because it's like Hina Kyan, the love interest, that
Hmm.
she speaks uh Uchina Gucci, so the
Yes.
traditional Okinawan language before they like rejoined the mainland.
Hmm.
So like she just speaks this it's basically a whole new language. It's not even a dialect. Like she speaks this
Yeah.
whole other language that they call a dialect. But like you end up learning about like Okinawan culture, a lot of the
Hmm.
language, which I
Yeah.
like, but at the same time is also weirdly not helpful
Yeah.
because I'm like, oh cool, I'm learning Japanese, but I'm also like,
But it's
I'm not going to Okinawa anytime soon. Like
no.
I'm planning a trip to go to Japan, but at the same time I'm like, I'm not going to Okinawa, so I'm not going to ever use any of these
No.
words that I'm learning.
On my days. Yeah, it's there's a lot of stuff that goes down like they say the word as well because obviously Teru doesn't speak the Okinawa
Yeah.
dialect or language. Um they like they just put the words on the screen and you don't understand as well as Teru. So you're there like what? I have to wait for the actual translation from
Yeah.
someone else to come through.
It's
So
yeah, either Kana or Higa-san
yeah.
um
Yeah.
translates, or like sometimes it's just on the screen. So you've got
Yeah.
all the like the kanji, the katakana, hiragana, but like it also like have the translation above it, which is an interesting way to do an anime because like most of the words take up the frame and
Mhm.
you only see tiny bits of character
Yeah.
because it's like you've got like how it's written out real big and bold,
Mhm.
like the
Yeah.
Uchina Gucci, and then you've got like the traditional Japanese at the top of the frame or
Yeah.
something. But then
Mhm.
because we're watching off a Crunchyroll, so then you have the English underneath the
Yeah.
traditional, but above the Uchinaguchi, and then
Yeah.
right in this little sliver might be like Kyan-san or someone or Teru or
Yeah.
someone's in there, and you're like,
Yeah.
I'm sitting there and I'm like, is this supposed to be some sort of play or commentary on like Japanese TV or something?
There's like subtitles. If it, like, imagine watching this. You know, like some people like don't watch Squid Game like
Yeah.
subbed because I don't like reading subtitles. Imagine this is like that their worst nightmare because there's gonna be like five different translations of things going on at the same time, like all written in different kind of different shit. And like if you hate that, you're gonna hate this. But like it's a lot. It can kind of be a tiny bit overbearing at times, but that's like not in a that's not a bad thing. I don't think it's too much of a criticism.
No, I think it actually like
Mhm.
plays into the confusing situation
Absolutely, yeah.
as well, because it like Teru's confused because he doesn't understand. You as
Yeah.
the listener and the viewer are confused because you don't understand. Now you're also
Yep.
looking at the fucking picture and there's just text everywhere, and you're even more confused. I'm like, I think it actually plays into it quite well to just
Yeah. Is it
make this super confusing situation that
yeah.
everyone's just like, what the fuck is going on?
'Cause, like, you don't get the whole story, like, about, I wouldn't say, like, 20% of the time is that they'll give you, like, a bunch of these words, and
Yeah.
you won't end up knowing what they mean, and you're like, "Oh, okay." Like, it's like, it's very minimal, those cases, but, like, that adds like you said, adds to the confusion. Terror is not the only one that's confused here. The viewer is also in that situation as well. I'm curious, like, about how this is, like, perceived in Japan, kinda, because, like,
Mm.
obviously, there's a lot of things that they have, like, in, Okinawa, which obviously doesn't come over, to the mainland and vice versa. And
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
curious, like, how much of an educational thing that is for people out there as well, like people that solely live in Tokyo. Like, I wonder if that's the thing. Like, oh yeah, people in Okinawa do this, and like, really? Wow, I didn't know
It
that.
probably
Like,
it probably is quite
mm,
interesting, and educational to, like, everyone else as well, because like,
yeah,
Okinawa is like a holiday destination for domestic travel,
yeah,
but at the same time, from what I understand, it's also kinda like, because everyone goes, it gets a bit expensive, so I'm like, probably not a lot of people, like, do actually manage to go to Okinawa,
yeah.
and Okinawa is their history is interesting anyway, because they're like that's where a lot of the, like, military bases were,
Oh,
like,
okay.
US military bases, so there's, like it's like this hodgepodge of, like, other cultures along with the like, an ancient Japanese, like, culture mixed in there. They've got, like, some ancient Chinese
Mhm.
culture mixed in there. They've
Right,
got,
yeah.
like, American influence, like, it's a really like, I don't wanna say strange, but it's just, like, really interesting place where they're just, like, somehow all of it melded together and then still exists to this day, but because they're kind of their own island that's part of Japan, and they're Japanese, but, like, they've, like, lived a long time, like, as their own island, like, as the anime
Mm,
said, up until a certain point, they
yeah.
rejoined the mainland, so it's like it's just kinda weird, thinking like, "Dang, there's just
It's just a
there's
big,
so."
like, mixing thing going on, like,
Yeah,
out there, like,
it's
yeah, that is interesting. I think it's just more like, I mean, it depends, like, if they actually explore those what you've just said a bit more as well, because obviously 3 episodes in, how many episodes have you watched so far?
I watched all 3.
You watched all 3 as well? Yeah, sound. Um, like, it's interesting, like, well, I wanna just see. I mean, I'm mainly watching. Obviously, the rom-com elements are
Mm,
fun, and the situation's really fun as well. But part of me, like the thing that keeps bringing me back and really interesting watching this anime is actually all the fun facts
yeah,
around it
same.
as well. Like the story is like it's a good story. I don't think it's anything too groundbreaking, but it is like it's got some original aspects to it. But like it's a great way, like you're not just watching for that, you're watching for like everything. There's a whole
Mm.
load of things you're like, oh, it's a learning experience. Like,
I want more culture shock. Like,
yeah.
at the in episode 3 when he's like, "Oh, so you don't swim at the ocean?"
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then Kana's like, "Yeah, we don't swim because it makes you feel mucha mucha." And he's like, "What? Mucha mucha?" And then, like, everyone in the area, because Teru's, like, the only person who's not Okinawa native, they're like, "That's not traditional Japanese," and everyone just has an existential crisis, and he's like, they're all walking home at the end of the episode, and he's like, "Guys, why'd you all get so quiet? Guys?" And it's just everyone's just like, "Oh god.
Yeah.
Oh."
It's like even they're like, "Oh, yeah," like, trying to play it cool. "Oh, yeah, it's kinda, like, sticky, I guess." Then he's like, "Oh my god, I can't believe that this is
Yeah,
everywhere."
it's like I guess it means, like, when you feel sticky or, "Hey, you can find fish over there," and it's like,
Yeah, yeah,
"Oh god."
yeah. And then the internal monologue, like, "Oh my god, no."
Well, I think it's funny that, like, even the internal monologue of, like, like, just before that when he's like, "Oh, there's a beach party of old people over there too," because,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
on the mainland, beach parties are just for, like, young people, but in Okinawa, everyone does a beach party, and then you still got some old people in the frame as well because they overheard, and
Yeah.
and it's just like it feels like the whole island is just like, "Oh, no."
Yeah. Like, you do get that real sense of that, like, the whole island is kind of one, like, well, one big community really
Mm.
as well, because everyone, like, comes across really friendly on it, and, like, I think it's even in episode 1, I think, Teru's like, "Ah, Higa-san," and then,
Oh,
like, about
yeah.
like 50 people turn around and say, "Oh, you're talking to me? My name's Higa-san, and I'm Higa-san." And they're all like
Oh, mate, that was also funny. In that scene, the 2 people in the apartment, they're like, "Hello," and he just turns around like, "What?"
Yeah,
It's not
I
even
know. They
Japanese.
just
It's
suddenly
just
go, yeah.
it's like, "Nani?" Nani?
It's it
What?
it it catches you it catches you so off guard when there's just English there. I've never actually heard any I don't think in any anime I've never heard a dub where he goes, "What?" I've never heard it before. It's like just that one word, like obviously such a common word. And you're just like, "Oh god, that caught me off guard there." It's funny, yeah. But, it's really cool. Like, one thing that, like, is really drawing me as well is, like, the food in this series,
Mm.
because obviously there's, like, a lot of food which is like, "Oh, like, Teru's never tried it before." And,
Oh yeah,
there was
the
that,
donut thing, the
what was it?
sata
The
andagi or something.
yeah, that was it, yeah, and then everyone just giving him satan nuggets, and, like, he just ends up with, like, millions
Well,
of them.
yeah, because it's also like people from other schools, and then
Yeah,
it's like
that
it's
one
like in the subtitles like, "Oh, I'm from the other town. Is there a teriyaki Nakamura here?
yeah,
I heard he
yeah.
hasn't tried sata andagi," and it's like,
Yeah.
what the fuck?
Yeah, everyone's just getting around like crazy. It's so funny. Oh man. But yeah, is that and then was it's where they go to the what was it the parlor as well, where
Oh
they
yeah, yeah,
just
yeah.
like where it's like a kind of unique like Okinawan thing where like you just go and order like traditional Okinawan food, but then like they're coming up with stuff like, oh yeah, I'll have the taco rice. And I was there like, oh, taco is in octopus rice. And it's literally just like
No, yeah, actual
rice
like
with like
a taco.
yeah, I'm like part of me like really wants to try it as well. Like all the food they started
Same,
ordering, I was like,
same.
I want to eat
See,
that food.
before this anime, I've heard of taco rice, and I was like, "Nani the fuck?" But at the same time, you think about it, and you're like, "Well, I mean, there's rice in burritos, and taco filling isn't that different from a burrito filling."
Yeah.
So then I'm like, "It sounds pretty good. I'd have some." And I think that's where the American influence, because like I've watched loads of videos about Okinawa as well, and like
Mhm.
one of the main places you go to is called America Town, America Mora, and it's just this
Oh
huge
yeah.
part of like the city that just looks like Hawaii or something. Like
Oh
just
really?
because
Yeah.
there's again because the like American bases, military bases are
Of
there.
course. Yeah. Yeah.
So then there was just like a huge American influence. So you're just like there's a huge section that just looks and feels like America.
That's so cool.
So like I think
Oh,
taco rice is probably from got has to be something like
100.
that. Like
It's got yeah, like
how does
comes
fucking
through a bit.
taco
Yeah.
filling on rice naturally go to somewhere in Japan? You know what I mean?
That part of me was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's like I think that's what really caught me off guard with it. Oh man. But I imagine it's also something that is quite easy to make over here as well. I don't think you would probably struggle with ingredients for that.
Yeah, but it's like
Like,
at the same time, it's like, but it's not the same though. Like we're not
I'm kind of
Okinawan, we don't know.
yeah. Let me see. I'm kind of like I'm curious of where actually what it looks like. It's okay.
I mean,
Okinawans.
I can imagine it's just a bowl of rice with
It
like
is. I
some
mean,
mince and
yeah.
avocado. I don't know, like some.
It is it's literally just taco ingredients in a bowl. Is if anything, it's just like a a burrito bowl, basically.
Yeah, with
It's
yeah.
it's
That's
basically
what I'm
that, yeah.
saying. It probably is that, but at the same time, there's something about it. I'm like, I could do it at home, but
Yeah.
I won't.
It is I mean, literally, it's ground beef, lettuce, cheese, tomatoes, served on steamed rice with fresh salsa. It's a burrito bowl.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
and I'm here for it, to be fair. I'm here for it. Like, but,
I'd still
the
eat it.
fusion dish mate, I'm going down a whole rabbit hole here now. The fusion dish was first created in 1984. So,
Wow, that's
it
not.
they say traditional there, and it's like,
Well, it's funny. So yeah, I mean, we're from the '90s. Like we're '90s guys. Like
yeah,
we're '90s kids.
yeah,
So like to say '84 means very little time for us because it's like, oh,
yeah,
that's really not that long before
mm.
either of us were born.
Yeah, it's like
Like,
when they said in the subtitles it was, "Oh, it's traditional Okinawan food." I was thinking, "Oh, so it's gonna be back in like so like proper traditional Japanese
yeah,
food." It's
like,
like,
oh, it's
nah,
like the
it's
1800s or something. But then, mm,
yeah. I think it's one of those ones as well, like because what was it? One of them says, "Oh, I want the taco rice with extra cheese and like chilies or something like that," and I'm like,
sounds like something you would do.
It's literally that is literally my order. If I got taco rice, that would be my order there. Um, but it's that, and then I think it's a cheese thing as well because like Japan doesn't really have cheese on point as
Yeah.
some other like Western countries as well. You know what I mean? Like so, Japanese pizza is very a surreal experience.
Yeah, it's a
I don't know if you
different
ever had it out
cheese.
there.
I have.
Yeah,
I had Domino's out
yeah.
there the first time I went, and it was like it was alright.
It's a really interesting experience. I remember, like, I think I went to like this random cafe there, and it was like, "Oh, we've got like this pizza," and I was like, I'll try Japanese pizza," and it was basically like quite thick strips of bacon on the like literally like it's not
Yeah.
diced up or anything. It was like a strip, and like there wasn't really like a tomato base. It was literally just like the bread, the cheese, some kind of sauce on there, and
Okay.
this fucking thick strip of bacon, and
Interesting.
it it was like it's very surreal, but like I was kind of here for it. I don't think it's probably the kind of pizza you'd expect, but yeah, it was
Fair.
it was
Fair.
nice. But yeah, that's a little side story there about cheese and pizza, which is kind of loosely
Well, I mean,
in
like,
this.
because Japan also doesn't have cheese as we know it. They've got like
Nah, yeah.
they have cheese, but it's like their own kind of thing, and it's sometimes it doesn't taste of anything. A lot of the times, it still tastes as plasticky fake as like American sliced cheese, like a Kraft single or something. But then on the odd occasion, you get something that resembles like cheese and tastes like it. But that's like I found that very rarely.
I think like when you're here in the UK, like you get various strengths of cheese as well.
Mm.
I think Japan when they've got their cheese, it's like it's a certain texture. It's like I feel they go for texture and then flavors something that is like, "Oh, okay, it tastes like this," and it's like, it's fine. I don't it's I feel like cheese is more of a texture thing, I feel. That's a but again, a country that is very rice-based is like, for meals, like, how often are you gonna have cheese with rice? It's like it's not often a combo you
Well,
see
how
unless you get the
often you
taco
eating
rice, I
taco
guess.
rice? Yeah, see, there you
I know,
go.
yeah, that's it, yeah, and even then, that's it. It's like, oh, yeah, the taco rice is probably the only time you'll have that combination, I guess. But, or omurice, actually wait, no, there's no cheese in
Nah, I've
omurice, is there?
seen
No.
you can have cheese, I suppose, and I've seen people go
Yeah,
to like Yoshinoya or something, those gyudon
yeah,
places, and
yeah.
have cheese put on it. It's not like you can't. It's just maybe not like a thing most people will think of, or maybe they do. We
Mm.
don't know. Personally, can't say I've had that much. I mean, at least in that sort of like, I'll have cheese with my rice, but that's because it's like in a burrito. Not because I'm like, "Oh, I'm I've just got a bowl of rice, I slapped a cheese slice on it, and off I go," like
Just a bowl of steamed rice, nothing else in it, just a
Yeah.
fucking like it's a craft single.
Yeah, fucking, "Oh, there's my bowl of white jasmine rice, it's fucking cheese slice. Off you go, you
Yeah.
fucking animal." Like
Yeah.
like, it's not
Oh,
something
man.
I've done or will probably ever do, but,
We
you
got
know.
so off track about the anime as well. But yeah, but I guess, like all in all, I've really like enjoyed the just watching the whole anime, like not the whole anime, 3 episodes. I'm going to definitely continue watching if I
Well,
can.
I mean, 3
Yeah,
episodes so far, so it is the whole anime,
yeah.
really.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, all the like I don't want to be like, oh yeah, watch the whole anime. Fab is like I'm missing like about 9 episodes here.
It it's a good, easy watch, and I feel like
Yes, yeah,
it's it's like that probably also to just fit in with the, like, vibe of Okinawa, like, they're trying
yeah,
to really portray this vibe that it's a laid back, like, tropical place, and you just even watching it, you just kinda get that vibe, like,
yeah.
nothing major super happens, but, he's a fish out of water, you'll learn some things, and then you just sort of relax and have a good time.
You like learn some words as well, like the whole OG-san thing as well is like
That confused the shit out of me as well. Yeah.
because you know, like, like you, normally you'd think, oh, like if you don't know what OG-san is, you'd be like, oh, it's just a word right there. I don't get what the
Yeah.
hell's going on. But like, if you're like a regular anime watcher, or you watch a lot of Japanese stuff, like OG-san to you is like, oh, old man.
Yeah.
And then, so I was watching that, I was like, that guy don't even look that old. What? And then it was
So
like more. It just came through. And I was like, okay, this is really confusing. So it adds even more confusion. I feel like when you're there. So you're picking up on like all these random words and stuff, which is really cool. Just like just a good like educational thing. I
yeah,
feel like
I have
yeah,
learned some words that on the mainland will mean probably nothing.
yeah,
Like now I know mucha mucha, and I know that is Okinawan slang. I know sata andagi, but that's also Okinawan
yeah.
donut thing. Like I've learned some words, but again, I don't know how often I'm ever going to need to know these words.
As well. Like, I was thinking, you know, like we usually do when we do these random anime reviews. It's like, oh yeah, which one did you watch, the sub or the dub? And this is only sub on
Yeah,
this. So I was like, oh okay, I'll get around to it eventually. I think it was like, oh okay, I'll see if there's a dub. I'll watch the dub, and it was like, it wasn't a dub that came through. But I'm also glad that there wasn't because I feel like to get the true experience of
mm,
this anime, you need to watch the subtitled version of it. Like, there's no dub, obviously, there's no dub, but like you
yeah.
get the best experience of it
Even
from that. Like,
even if there was a dub, I agree with Pepe. I would highly suggest watching the sub because
mhm,
you really do need that difference in
yeah.
language because you can even hear it, like it sounds like Japanese, but there's something about it. You know what I mean? Like
It's even
it
like the mucha mucha thing is like
yeah,
kind of like doesn't scream Japanese at all, really. Like it's
there's it's like it sounds familiar to what you think you would know, but it's not. But then you hear like Teru and Kana, and they're like speaking traditional Japanese. So then you also hear that. But if it was a dub, I think you would lose quite a lot of it because you're like, why is he confused? Because she's just speaking. Like,
exactly that's it. Yeah,
I think the only difference is though they might find someone who has an accent or can put on some sort of heavier accent.
yeah,
But then you're
yeah.
like, "Ah, it's not quite the same, is
But
it?"
you know, like even when you get like other shows that are dubbed, and in the sub version, you know, when there's someone from Okinawa or like
Yeah.
someone in the countryside, they come over and it's like, oh, it's country bumpkin speak, and you don't pick that up in a
No.
dub version. You won't pick that up at all because that's the bit that's lost in translation there. Um, like it's just they just sound like a regular person to me. Yeah, yeah.
The only way they do that is they might be directed to be like, "Oh yeah, can you put on like a southern accent and maybe cut out a couple of syllables here and there or whatever." You know what I mean?
Like
Like make
abbreviate
it
some words, like just
yeah.
throw a y'all in or something like
Yeah,
that, or
exactly,
like
but to
yeah.
us it's completely lost because really what
Mm,
is happening is for us the equivalent is literally you're speaking English and there's someone who speaks another language but also speaks a little bit of English. Do you know
yeah.
what I mean? That's
It
what
is,
would
yeah.
be lost there, but you can't really do that so much in
Mhm.
the dub.
It just really wouldn't work out with it at all. And, like, I think that's maybe why, because you know, like, you get some simulcasts that come through, and they get, like, a dub quite quickly.
Mm,
Like, I don't know if this actually like, I'll be quite surprised if they do a dub of this because I actually don't know how it'd work as well. Like, I think it would just lose the whole point of the anime. I think it's
yeah.
doable, but you would get, like, probably the worst experience from it, I'd say.
I mean, this is a I feel like an example of just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something,
Yeah.
right? And this
Yeah.
is one where a dub, I think the only benefit is to just get more eyes on it. There are, like you said, there are people who will literally not watch because there's no dub. But at the same
Mhm.
time, I don't feel like there's any other benefit to a dub for this
Yeah.
personally.
'Cause I like personally like it if I was going in and like arguably when I was gonna watch these episodes, it's like, oh, I'll look for the dub first.
Mm,
Because like, you know, like because when there's a dub, you know, like, you can concentrate, but you can also do like something else as
yeah.
well. You know what I mean? Like fucking like multitasking in some ways. But but like with this, you know, you have to have your sole focus on it. And again, it just like comes back to the point. Like, I'm glad that it is just sub only right now.
Same,
It's one of those. Yeah.
same.
Is there anything else you reckon? Anything else you want to say about this anime?
Um, I loved that small section with the lost kid.
Oh yeah.
Like, that's just in my mind. Like, ever since last night, I just think about it a lot. That real quick, like, oh, Teru, you're shocked. I better do a mabui on you.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know when he's all like, "Oh, she's gonna hug me and do pat my back," and then it's like that really quick, like they're tiny in the frame. They've got that
Yeah.
like cartoon, super manga cartoon like expression, and she just like flips around and just starts smashing and
He's
like
smack.
smacking him on the back. Mabuya, Mabuya,
And
and he's like, "Eh?"
it's
That's
it's
how
like,
she did
yeah.
it earlier.
When it's a grown up, you need to hit it back a lot more.
Yeah. Oh, because when adults, your soul is way bigger, so you need to hit harder.
It's such like an old person thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like it feels like it's like the moment they showed the example of the like that cartoon old woman doing it.
yeah.
It's like, yeah, that feels like an old woman thing. Like it feels like an older
That is
person thing.
funny, and the only other thought I have is, like, that as a perfect example where they said, like, that's what old people in Okinawa do.
Hmm.
A lot of
Yeah.
what like, Kyan-san does is old people, so I kinda
Yeah.
hope at some point we learn why she only speaks traditional Okinawan dialect and where she learned it because, like, she's, like, the only person who only speaks
Hmm.
Uchi no Gucci. Like, everyone else
Yeah.
speaks mostly traditional, and then they have, like, the slang words, and they might know a word or 2 here. Kana's close because she spent like, they explain, like, oh, Kana spends a lot of time with her grandparents and has known
Yeah.
Hina Kyan for, like, ever. But, you know, when you're just like, "But how has she avoided learning traditional
Yeah,
Japanese?" Or,
it's like
like
that is nuts. Yeah, it's one of those as well, where, like, because like she knows like a little bit here and there, a little bit of Japanese, because she goes into it a bit, like a
yeah.
little bit here and there, but like she mainly just goes for the
Yeah,
Uchi no
she's like
Gucci.
she's fully into Uchinaguchi, and that's why I'm just like, I kinda hope we do learn why
That's another thing as well about this. It's like with the whole character love triangle thing. Like we have like an idea why Kana loves
mm,
Teru. But, like, you can't like, apart from the fact that, like, she was the first person to talk to him, I kinda don't see that much of the connection between Teru and, Hina. It kinda feels
yeah,
it kinda feels like, if anything, I'm more invested in the Kana Teru one,
yeah,
like, rather than, like I feel more invested in that than I was like, "Okay, cool," like, she's there, and she's a really interesting character, Hina, but I'm like, I think I need a bit more, like, fleshing out of that character.
mm,
Like, obviously, her main shtick right now is, yeah, she only speaks Uchinaguchi. But, like, I wanna just, like, get a bit more back like, also why Teru's here as well. Like, I know obviously he came over and
yeah,
he's, like,
that's
now
another
in
point. We just know he transferred to an Okinawan school from a Tokyo school, but
yeah.
we have no idea why he did that. We haven't seen his
Yeah.
parents or anything. He's just, like, there.
No, that's I don't know what his, like, living situation's like either. Like, is he living alone, like, somewhere, or is he,
True,
like,
yeah, because
with people?
even in that backstory where he's, like, first arrives and stuff, like, he's showing Kana and Hina a picture of where he lived in Tokyo,
Yeah.
but, like, did he live there alone? Was it his parents there?
Mm.
Like, I don't know.
I I think like hopefully I think we will like as the season goes on we probably will get a bit more backstory to these characters.
Yeah.
Like right now the series is kind of easing you in with these gags and like all the situation that's coming through and like the if anything like the educational stuff.
Mm,
And I think bit by bit you're gonna get more of those rom-com elements. You're gonna get a bit more character backstory. So like there's two big things which are drawing people in. It's the situation and also the characters'
mm.
relationships and their backgrounds and like it'll as the series goes on, I hope that like it looks like they are as well. Like it'll progress a lot more and we get an idea
Well,
of
hopefully. I
the
mean, the manga is still ongoing and there's 9
yeah.
volumes. So,
Yeah,
I'd
exactly.
imagine in 9 volumes, you've explored some more of the characters, and it's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
just
yeah,
more
you'd
like
really hope so, yeah. I think sometimes rom-coms fall into that thing where it's like, "Oh, here's this thing," and then it's like, "Oh, it resets." Like, "Oh, they're getting closer," and then it's, "Oh, nothing happens."
yeah.
Like, like a story of the week kind of thing, and, like, arguably, that can be to some people, that could be quite, like, boring, like, people are like, it's not original, but with this, you have that unique situation to play off of, and you will get a different story each week. You won't be falling into that so much because
Mm,
like Teru's always going to be learning new stuff about
yeah.
Okinawa. That's the one thing. Even though there's that one gag in episode 3 where he's like, Teru wasn't shocked anymore. He's been through so much in Okinawa that he's just not stunned. And then he sees Kana doing like that dance as well, and he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I am shocked." Like, so there's still more shocks to come through with that, and like, there's a lot of stuff which is quite cool to see with that, and I'm looking forward to
Well, I mean,
seeing
that's
more.
also the other thing is like now that you've mentioned that, I'm thinking, how much time has he spent in Okinawa? Like he has
Mm,
to learn a whole new culture, a whole new language because of the girl he likes. I'm like,
mhm.
I don't know. It's hard to tell because Okinawa again is like more tropical, so it's kind of like
Yeah.
he arrived and it was a nice sunny day,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
most episodes they're doing stuff. It's a nice sunny day.
Yeah.
Can't really tell how much time's progressed because
It's it's really tough, yeah, because yeah, even when, like, there was, like, his first day at school and stuff like that,
yeah.
it feels like it's still early days into it because he's still I mean, if he's still learning things, like, how how do you know? Yeah,
Well, I mean,
it's, an
I
interesting
think the
thing.
only thing you can maybe take from it is that you know how like we know from Persona games, like Japan changes
Mhm.
uniforms depend like so you got your summer uniforms, your winter
Yeah.
uniforms, and when he first started school, they were all wearing blazers, and now they're not, so they're probably in their summer
Yeah.
uniforms. So maybe he joined. Maybe he's only been there a couple of months, a few months.
Yeah. Because like, it's that's one thing. Because usually they start in spring, right? In Japanese schools, I
I
think.
think so.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's like a ceremonial thing because he, like, had his hair done all nice as well, didn't he?
Yeah, yeah.
And,
And now he
everyone was
doesn't.
kinda yeah. Like, I mean, even, Hina had her hair differently in it, like, so
Yeah.
it's obviously there's something up
Everybody had
there,
their
like,
hers did.
yeah, dang. It's like school photo day.
Oh god.
But yeah, yeah, it'd be interesting to see, like, how what the pacing is with it in that sense. But it's not something that takes you out of the series at all
Nah,
either.
nah, nah.
No.
It's just it's just us wanting to know more.
Mm. Yeah,
I need
literally, yeah. I
more,
mean,
more.
I think that's the big takeaway from this. Like, like, this series, after you finish an episode, you're like, "Oh, I wanna know more." Like, and the education they give you with this, it's really cool. That's it.
Well, it's funny because I want to know more about the characters, but I do actually also just want to learn more.
Yeah,
more.
yeah. That's it. Like, it comes through there's this, as I said before, there's those 2 things driving you with it,
I
and
need more Okinawa knowledge that
yeah.
will be very like seem very unique until the one day I go and visit Okinawa and I'm like, I know this. Yeah.
Yeah. You always find I think when you go somewhere, you always find something you'll, new to discover, which is always good. Is if anything, it's probably gonna boost people gonna go Okinawa a bit more, to be honest. Like, I feel
Yep.
like it'd probably be a small uptake in people doing it. Like, people see this thing and be, "Oh, I wanted to see Okinawa." Like,
Just
but,
remember when you go over there to Okinawa and you make a friend called Kana, make sure you extend the vowels and don't say Kana-san because they're gonna be like, oh,
"Ooh, daijoubu?"
oh, so
Daisuke.
romantic. Ooh.
Yeah. Oh, man. Right. Anything else you want to say before we wrap this up, Nathan? You reckon?
Nah, I'm good. Go and watch
No,
it.
I think it's absolutely. Yeah, I think if you like got this far, I'd be like, yeah, 100% go watch this if you haven't. Like, we've said a lot of things, but like, we haven't said that, like, majority of what goes on in that series. We said like some of our favorite moments, but there's a load of good stuff to take from the
Mm.
series. So 100% watch it. Like, we watched the first 3 episodes. There's gonna be more coming out. I'm very excited to watch. Nathan's very excited. I think we'd both easily recommend this. Doesn't happen often in a random anime review, I'll tell you that for sure.
It's because we're normally watching garbage.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's that one of the rare instances where something's come through and it's like, hey, this is actually really good.
Uh,
Yeah, hopefully it does get a bit more popularity as well. Like, fingers crossed for that. But anyway, have you guys watched this? Let us know in the comments. Love to hear from you guys. And remember to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell button for future Culture Boys videos. Check our links in the description. We've got our podcast down there as well. Thank you for listening, guys. Catch you next time.
Eat taco Ross. Bye.